105. Do a great job. By the way, Big Joe Krause, too, with them shorts. Make sure you check out after the program. Big Joe dropping them shorts out there, too. And I'm not talking about his shorts underneath. I'm talking about the shorts we post on JAKIB. And the last time that Zander Krause was on, like, the captain's walk here, we had a big show. We had a big segment. So without further ado, live from Cape May, our boy, Big Z, Zander Krause.
What's going on, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
I love that back set, man. I do.
Yeah,
I like
nice,
I like
right?
the rocking
I'm sitting
chair.
on the porch. I just said hi to you. People walking by thought I was talking to them. I'm on a show. Little did they know the people walking by here. I'm on a show, talking to the great people of JAKIB Nation.
So, man, Zander, I'm a little disappointed in you, son. How come you wouldn't tell me? I mean, the number one roster in pro football by Pro Football Focus is the Philadelphia Eagles. Biggest strength in 24, the running game and the amazing defense that they had. Then they turn around and say the biggest weakness is your quarterback. I mean, dude, help me out.
That's not what they said.
Help me understand. Really? Well, let me read it to you.
I heard you. You read it 44 times in the last 8 minutes. I heard it. That's not what it said at all.
Help me. What did it say?
It said the worst part of the team last year, the team that the part of the team that they struggled with the most was the passing game.
Oh.
Do the receivers get any blame for that? Does anybody else get any blame outside of what about Kellen Moore? Now we did talk about this morning, and I'm not going to live in fairy tale land. Last year wasn't a prolific passing team, but we won the Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, how do you gauge what you should have done or what you wanted to do versus what you did when what you did is ultimately what brought you all the success? Now, moving forward, I think it's a bigger question, but looking back, who cares? You got a bunch of nerds on PFF who'd rather have a 4,000-yard season than no Lombardi trophy than a 29-03 season and a Lombardi and a Super Bowl MVP and a trip to Disney World and a GQ magazine and a Met Gala and a Men's Health and all these different things. I mean, Jalen is accomplishing things a different way, and I don't think that's a problem, but I do think moving forward, he's going to have to throw the ball more.
Well, Saquon Barkley said something to that. I mean, let me give the quote exactly here on Saquon here. Then we're going to get to Vic here, but so Barkley, what did he say here? I want to make sure because people question sometimes how I see things. Here it is. We have the recipe. We have to stick to it. Gee, does that mean limit the passing attack and remain feeding the big dog, the big pill, and the big yards? Sticking to what we do best. That's the recipe. It's not through him. It's through, you got it, Mr. 99. How you doing? Isn't that what he's saying?
Well, why is that a bad thing?
It's not. Like I said, PFF's not wrong. You're not going to pass the ball. You're not going to pass your way to a Super Bowl. You're going to run your way to one.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think you're going to every time. We didn't run our way to 1 in 22. We were within a play away from winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that play goes our way at the end of that game, is this conversation even relevant? I mean, it's not like last year was the one of, and every other year was 9-7 or 9-8. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl in 22 with Miles Sanders. He's like the fourth string in Dallas right now, which goes to show you that most of the running backs that we had were hot garbage, and they were made okay because of the Eagles' offensive line.
Okay. So do you think Jalen Hurts has gotten better since 22 in the passing? How about this? Not Jalen Hurts. Do you think the Eagle passing game has gotten better since 2022?
No, it has not. It has not. But it's also very different. You agree? I mean, you had RPO heavy. It was a way different offense. And I think, it's like a bow and arrow, Sills. Before that bow can go launch 100 yards and strike its target, what do you have to do? You have to pull it back. You got to load it up. I think Jalen was loading up. Can you imagine this? Jalen Hurts is loading up the bow.
Oh, yeah.
Learning how to read defenses, doing everything at the line of scrimmage, learning progression reading in the NFL and taking that next step. And they're able to win the Super Bowl while he's doing it. Can you picture what is to come for the Philadelphia Eagles if Jalen Hurts continues this ascent, Sileo?
Absolutely. I mean, he's got nowhere to go but up. I mean, he's the 5th worst passing quarterback, according now to PFF and not Big
He's
Sills.
not the 5th worst passing quarterback.
27. It said right here, 27th. He was the worst passing rate.
No.
Tied for 27th.
Wait, so do you think wait. So do you think the Eagles should have thrown the ball more now just to not be 27th and taking the ball out of Saquon Barkley's hands?
Absolutely not. They should stick with what they do. And the only thing they do really great, that's run the ball.
I think this is more of a fair question moving forward than it is looking back. I think looking back, it's stupid because they clearly pivoted after week 4. It's fair to say that. They also didn't have A.J. Brown for 3 of those games. They were missing Devontae in one of those games. They were missing Lane Johnson in one of those games. And the passing offense, yes, struggled very much. Once they decided to shift to find momentum while they were 2-2, they found something that they never needed to switch off of because it worked so well. So last year, I can look and say, well, it wasn't great, but it never dictated us to go back. And the only time it did, we were successful versus Pittsburgh, versus the Bengals, versus the Commanders, and versus the Chiefs. So last year, it didn't dictate it. Now, this year moving forward, I think it's a bigger question because I do think teams are going to try and take away the run. And now you're going to have to win games and move the ball through the air more so than you had to last year.
Let me ask you a fair question then. By the way, all supers will be read at the end. I promise you guys. Also, please hit the like button. Is this not a fair question to ask? How many NFL teams do you think there are where you would say something like this? We pivot and we want to pivot away from our quarterback. And we want to pivot to another position on the team. Do you think that that's a problem when you're talking about how you're going to approach year in and year out? You said something this morning, which kind of it's totally right. And we've been on that line too. Every year Hurts has been a different quarterback. And there's no question. Zander, I actually now believe that's starting to develop into a strength. Okay? When you can pivot like that, I think that's more becoming where that's becoming a strength, and you're going to have to learn to live with that because of the coordinator changes. With that being said, when I hear this, I'm going to pivot away from my quarterback to a running game. There's no team in the NFL like that. Yeah, and that's what makes the Eagles, again, that's what makes the Eagles construction and how he has built this team so different and so unique. It's a unicorn in the league. Nobody in the league is going to pivot away from Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but the problem is that philosophy leaves out context where the Eagles did miss many of their key players in the first 3 weeks. Yes, they did pivot. And you can look at it now in hindsight and say, no other team would have done that. But the moment wasn't a bad decision, even if the plan was ultimately to get back to that when everybody was healthy and things were firing on all cylinders. They ran the ball so good, Sileo. It would have been a gross adjustment to go off of that. Okay. It would have been coaching malpractice to do that. So their circumstance, again, was dictated by the success they had on the football field. If you said if they fumbled out or they went 10-6 and lost in round 1 and they did it by running all year and never went back to the passing game, we could sit here and say, yeah, Jalen failed and he couldn't do what he needed to do to win. But that's not what happened because when they did take away Saquon, he did succeed. Now, again, I'm not in fairy tale land, though, where I'm saying, hey, it's all fine. You're never going to have to throw anymore. What you do is perfect. Everything is perfect. He did struggle last year throwing the ball at times. It wasn't his best year throwing the ball, but the season, that's what it called for. And the fact that we were able to win with that and his first year doing all those things at the line of scrimmage, I think it shows you that the sky is nowhere near breached on this football team. And that is a scary, impressive thing, but they still have to realize it.
You think he would have won the Super Bowl if Miles Sanders was the running back?
No. No.
Okay.
Nope. No.
Now, it's fair to say, do I think Barkley has the year that he had without Hurts in the backfield? I don't think that either. Okay, I think people fear that running game with him too. Don't you think they fear him more in his ability to get out in open space than they do with him throwing the ball in open space?
Who was Saquon?
No, Hurts. I fear that guy breaking one loose on 3rd and 10 than I do with him dropping back on 3rd and 10.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not his game, but he's also gotten better at that part of his game. I mean, last year they got better at it, but it was limited to the go route, so you're gonna have to take another stride in that area. But no, I mean, look, that's still, again, you can't change the stripes on a zebra, dude. You know what I mean? Like you're Big Sills, and I'm not gonna make you Johnny Mac, and I'm not gonna make Johnny Mac Big Sills, and I'm not gonna make Jalen Hurts Joe Burrow, and you're not gonna make Joe Burrow Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is going to thrive with what he does. That does look different than guys like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, or any of these other guys. But what he's done to this point has worked. So who am I to sit here and say, I don't like that style, so you shouldn't do it? Well, he can show up his ring finger to me and say, hey, dude, sorry for my language, fuck you. And I would have to sit there and say, touche.
Don't you think Jalen Hurts is the most unreplaceable player on that offense?
I do.
Me too.
Yeah, I do.
Because the run and the pass, when needed, I have fear with him running, right? So, I mean, you're going to get, hey, dude, you can go find me, and I don't know about another AJ, but you can find me another A receiver. You can maybe get me Derrick Henry or Saquon, but replacing a guy who fits what you do is a hard proposition. Because if it was that easy, the Dolphins, the Jets, and all these other shitty teams would replace quarterbacks every single year. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. What about him being a chameleon too? Like, what about his ability?
That's a huge asset.
Right. I mean, I do think he doesn't get enough credit for that. And so many people, again, fall into the habit of, well, I expect it to look like this, or I want it to look like this. And when it doesn't, they're so quick to jump on it versus saying, boy, the team needed Jalen Hurts to do this today, and he did it. The team needed Jalen Hurts to do this today, even if it didn't look good on him, and he did it. Now, again, I'm not in fairy tale land to say Jalen Hurts never had a bad game. I mean, he played terrible objectively in the Rams playoff game. Absolutely awful. He played awful in the Packers playoff game. All right. I'm not going to sit here in delusion land, but the team, the way it's built, and when they did ask him to step up and take the load, take the team to the finish line, he did do it. So I'm having a hard time criticizing it, but I do understand what you're saying. I mean, classic Sills falling into the PFF bullshit,
I'm just reading shit that's posted.
A bunch of
online.
nerds.
nerds. I'm just reading stuff. All right, let me get to Vic Fangio, the fine paisan in Philly here, the DC. Wow. Did he say a lot of shit today, bro?
Yeah, he did. He did.
So
he always says a lot of stuff. That's why I like him.
Dog, when he went like this, Jerod Campbell, we're playing him at inside linebacker, and somebody asked him, what about his pass rushing capabilities? He goes, well, I don't know. We got him at ILB right now, and that's where we're playing him. And we're doing drills with him right now. They re-asked the question again, do you see him out there? He goes, I don't know. We're playing him at inside linebacker. I don't get the impression, Zander, that they're flirting around with him as some sort of edge rusher. They're looking at him as an off linebacker. Those were his words, and that makes me believe, well, they're either going to move him into Nakobe Dean's spot, or they're going to take potentially Zach Vaughn, maybe on third down, and rush him off the edge out there and use that kind of threesome in that room there like that. I didn't get the impression that they were using him. Now, he said they may see. We'll find out maybe. But he goes, right now, he's an off linebacker. That guy was drafted to replace somebody and to play inside, not to be an edge rusher.
Do you think this goes more to the conversation we had recently about positionless players on defense?
Yes.
Like you see, if you have that thought process with Zach Bond, who was just first team All Pro as a linebacker, and you're going to apply that to him, you got to think they're applying it to everybody on the defense. I mean, why would you move a first team All Pro or change what a first team All Pro does? Right. I mean, the only way to do it is if you have the other guys in the room to, or you believe using that player differently will make the whole pie, the whole puzzle, for
That's
lack
their
of a better word,
definition of great player.
Right. It's true. It's true. It's
versatility.
interesting. I mean, he kind of said the same with Cooper DeJean, right? He was like, I'll move Cooper DeJean all over the place, basically, is what he said. Could play safety, could play outside, will play, in the slot in nickel or in nickel. So I don't know. It does seem like they're taking that approach for sure.
Boy, I tell you, I was a little bit taken back by that because, I mean, I heard people on the radio in Philadelphia trying to tell me that Jerod Campbell is going to be some sort of like elite pass rusher. And Vic's like, no, we're playing him inside. I'm even working drills with him on the ILB, and that's where he is right now. Right. And he goes, Bond can play both, but we're working him off ball. And I was like, holy cow, that's not what I heard draft night. All right, there was something else before I get to Cooper.
The Campbell pick is interesting. So
what's that?
The Campbell pick is interesting.
It is, because I don't know where he's going to line up yet.
There's a lot of blurred lines there. Like, I don't know. I can't get the read on 1, when he's going to be back, 2, where he's going to be, and 3, like what the purpose of using their first round pick on him was. I'm not doubting that it was that they have the right idea. I'm just questioning and curious to see how it all looks when the thing does come together.
And get this, you're not drafting a guy 31st to have him as a rotation piece. That's not, that guy's taking a job and he's going to be a starter somewhere. Absolutely. I mean,
absolutely.
This was one of the most troubling things I have ever heard about a player on this roster. And it goes here. Hey, why did it take Jordan Davis so much time to get into shape? And he was in better shape at the end of the year. Fangio's direct quote. I'm going to duck that question. I could sit here all day and talk about my thinking on that, but I'm going to pass on that. Are you trying to tell me this guy's lazy?
No, that's not what he was trying to tell you.
I'm going to duck that question, why his conditioning got better later.
His entire point, and Vic has talked about this in the past, his entire coaching philosophies and beliefs have zero alignment with the modern day game, with the lack of practice, with the lack of hard work, with the lack of everything that goes into offseason, that I believe Vic was talking more about that than something specific about Jordan Davis. Doesn't mean he doesn't.
Was in shape.
That's not really true.
Really? Who was out of shape?
Then we have this issue with Jaylen Carter year 1, too.
I don't remember Jaylen Carter being out of shape. I saw 17 weeks of dominance.
No, not his first year. Not his first year.
No, I'm talking last year. I don't remember that guy. What are we in now? Year 4 with him? Going into?
With who? Davis? Davis is year 4.
There's no excuses to not be in shape. And to hear the DC go, well, I could be here all day why it took him until the latter part of the year to be in condition. Every single football player on that field is a versatile player that was called on to stay on the field and play in multiple fronts. You have to have exceptional conditioning to be able to do that. Now, to your point on one end, can you fall out of shape because you're only a situational player and being a first and second down guy? Okay, that is true because
I would say that no. See, while that could be true, that I would say would be an indictment, because if you're not prepared to go in your role, what are you doing? Right? Like, if you can't even be prepared for a limited role, why would you ever expect anybody, fans, coaches, other players alike, to look at you and say, you deserve more reps or you are growing into this player? If you can't handle that workload, and I don't think that's the case, but if you can't handle that, then I got an even bigger problem with that.
I like I said, ask John that question tomorrow, because when he paused and said that I want to pass on that.
Yeah,
to me, that was definitely something for me. That was a conditioning comment. That was more being in shape.
Yeah, but don't you remember last year, the first year Fangio was here, he talked about how he wishes, well, if it were up to me, we'd be on the practice field all the time. So he
made a reference to that going, some think around here we don't have to practice enough.
Well, that's not just Philly, man. That's a lot of the league right now. That's probably 25 teams. I mean, there's a couple left maybe that don't have that line of thinking. I mean, it's all collectively bargained. And here's the other problem with it. Hey, Vic, let me ask you something, Vic. And I'm not questioning you, but let me ask you this, Vic. Would you rather have Jordan Davis in a better condition for the first 5 weeks? Or would you rather have most of your defensive starters available for you in January and the game in February that you played last year? So I get it. It's not something you should have to pick one or the other, but the Eagles' philosophy has worked so well, it would almost be impossible to argue against it because the 2 Super Bowls they went to, we were unprecedentedly healthy in those games.
Yeah, I agree with that. But don't you agree in that Tampa game, Jordan Davis looked like a fat ass?
He did, but nowhere he didn't look like a fat ass in the last game of the year.
Okay. That was the point of the question to him. Why did it take him so long?
Well, yeah, then maybe Jordan Davis sipped too many mojitos, drank too many, drank too many beers and had too many tacos. I don't know. Maybe he was doing what I'm doing, and he was sitting in the Great Cape May with his feet kicked up on a rocking porch a little too many hours.
I think that situational playing him only on first and second down where he doesn't. I think when you're a big dude like that, dude, I mean, and listen, I agree with you. That's no excuse. Okay? Too many Snapples for the kid. All right. How about this one, Big Z? Hit the like button, guys. Supers will read them, I promise. This was telling. There is no doubt what they're going to do here this year with Cooper DeJean. He said this about him. Yeah, man. I think he'd be a great safety, and I think he's going to excel there. And he said this in base. They're either going to have him line up there or potentially out on the number. Now, he made a great point where he said they were only in base 147 times, I think I heard him say, or 157 times.
Yeah.
That they were in base, but there is no doubt they don't want him off the field.
Yeah, but this is why terminology is so stupid. Like, how is your base defense? You play 150 snaps. I mean, what? That's not your base defense. That you played nickel 70% of the times. That would be your base, but that's terminology in the NFL for you.
I guess, and it used to be the complete polar opposite. You were in base like 90% of the time, not nickel. Right. Now you're in third down packages like nickel and dime now. So what do you make of the fact that they're saying this? Putting him in the safety position. And I'll ask you something here. This is just me asking you, and I'm being Big Sills, and you tell me if I'm fucking wrapping this baby around the old oak tree here. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, if I find out that Makuba can play and I put Cooper DeJean in the safety position and both those guys look like they're real good, why again would I pay Reed Blankenship $10 million?
Who's going to play your slot?
Sydney? I don't know.
Kelee? So it technically doesn't answer the problem of the same question if you kick Cooper to the outside.
Okay, Mike. Okay, so what are you doing with you put Makuba over in the slot, right? And then you put Reed and him over there, or do you put?
Wait. You said
I did.
You said if you move Cooper to safety,
right? Well, he thinks he's going to be great there.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with him. I think Cooper. By the way, just put this out there. I think Cooper would be excellent at all 5 spots in the defensive backfield. All right, I do. That's just my feeling. I'm not saying he's proven all 5. I'm saying I believe he would be good at all 5. Now, if you moved him to safety and then Makuba played safety, now you're just creating a hole at the slot. It's the same thing of saying, why not kick Cooper DeJean to the outside? Well, again, you're going to have that slot cornerback. What if you kicked Cooper to the outside, you brought Makuba down into the slot, and then you sign Justin Simmons, or you look to see if Sidney Brown was healthy next to Reed Blankenship. Now you have Quinion, you have Cooper, you have Makuba in the slot, you got Reed, and you got either Sidney Brown or Justin Simmons. That is a good secondary.
I don't know if they're going to give that kid $10 million.
Reed?
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know either. I questioned it as well based on the contracts they have coming up. But I'll say this. Every once in a while, John will answer questions to me, and he has like a distinct look on his face. And the last time I talked to him about about Reed Blankenship, about the contract, he basically looked at me and said, it's going to get done. So I don't know if that means he's got a source, if somebody's talked to him, if somebody told him inside the building it's going to get done. But I'm taking that to the bank right now and assuming Reed Blankenship is going to get done. On the same breath, though, I don't think you're out of question to ask, is that worth it?
He's up for it right now.
With Carter, with Nolan, with Cooper, with Quinion, with all these guys coming up in the future, you can make an argument, maybe not, but at the end of the day, every contract's like 2 years, dude. So you get Reed for 2 years, you're 2 years out until, and remember, like, we're going to pay Jaylen Carter next year, but when are those cap hits really going to kick in? The Eagles are masterful. Exactly. So I'm not really that worried about paying them right then and there. It's really more about the cash because, I mean, how much cash is the Jaylen Carter deal going to demand? $100 million guaranteed? If he gets 4 years, $35 million, that's $140 million. I think it's around $100 million guaranteed, so that's a big nut right there. Then you have Nolan, if he gets $25 million a year. So it's the guaranteed money that's going to come into play, but I think Reed gets done, brother. I do.
But isn't Reed now? Wouldn't he be a free agent at the end of at the end of the 25 season and it's 26? Isn't he a free agent then? Would he become a free agent? You would let him go into 25 without a deal?
Well, yeah, I guess this is his lame duck year, right? Yeah.
So you're going to so are you going to sign this guy by the time you get to trade?
What if the deal comes? I mean, this is the time I think a deal like a guy like Reed would get done, maybe between
now
training camp. No, maybe between now and the start of the season. Like, I could see an extension coming during camp or after camp a little bit. September. Here's the other problem with the Reed Blankenship conversation. All right. You remember last year when Slay went on the podcast and somebody asked him, when you're not out there, who's the leader of the secondary? And he said Reed Blankenship. All right. And everybody got mad at him. I don't know why. It's the truth. Reed's the communicator back there. It's not you, CJ Gardner-Johnson. It was never you, CJ Gardner-Johnson. I don't know why you take everything so personal. CJ Gardner-Johnson, as great of a player he was, he truly acts like a chick sometimes. But and he actually, took it to heart. But if you take away Reed, you took away Slay. Like, who do you have Now you have Makuba, you got Quinion and Coop, you got Sidney Brown, you got Mac McWilliams. Like, who is communicating, dude? Who is the guy that understands the communication and the savviness that comes with the Vic Fangio defense? Who understands that? I'm not saying the other guys don't, but are you putting too many eggs in the get younger basket? Now you're telling me Slight and Reed are gone? I mean, come on, man. Eventually you're going to go too far. So I don't think they're going to get rid of Reed. I really don't.
How about this though, man? Would you rather pay $8 million? Would you rather pay $6 million for Justin Simmons to play the other safety next to Cooper DeJean, or would you rather pay $30 for Reed over a 3-year deal per annual year plus the signing bonus?
Wait, what was the first one? Reed for
would you rather pay 1 year or $6 million for Justin Simmons, or would you rather pay $30 million at $10 million annually plus a signing bonus to a guy that you could replace?
Yeah, but
I think Reed Blankenship's replaceable.
All right, and I think to answer your question, to answer your would you rather, I think it's Reed Blankenship, and it's not even effing close. Because, by the way, I mean, you say 30 million. It's really going to be a 2-year deal, as all their 3-year deals are, where you can get out for 2 years. It's probably going to include $16 million of guaranteed money, right? $8 million a year maybe in guaranteed money. It's not really going to be that big of a nut, and you can get the guy under contract for the next 3 seasons. I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, why create so much
top safety?
But why create so much turnover there, Sileo? That's a good price.
Yeah, but
that's a good price.
I don't see that guy as the top safety.
So you think you can get cheaper and get better?
And that's top.
Or are you admitting that you'll get worse, but you'd rather be cheaper?
I don't think you're going to get worse. I don't think Vic thinks it either. Did you hear what he said about Gardner Johnson today? Hey, it was a hobby thing. I had no problem with it.
Boy, you're pinching pennies like there's no tomorrow.
What's that?
You're pinching pennies like there's no tomorrow.
Not me. I'm not pinching pennies like there's no tomorrow. Howie is.
No, he's not.
Really?
You're saying get rid of Reed. Howie hasn't got rid of Reed.
Yes, you did. This entire offseason's been about money.
We got rid of the spot. CJ Gardner Johnson, who gave up more touchdowns and coverage than anybody in the secondary.
The entire offseason on defense has been about money. It's not. What do you mean? Look at
because we have a $200 million offense.
Okay, well, they're pinching money on defense.
And you're advocating to pinch even further.
No, that's what. No, I'm looking at a guy going like this. Is that a guy I want to pay $30 million to? I don't know. I think I can replace that guy.
I'm not saying.
Cooper, I can't. And by the way, why would I draft a guy in the second round at safety? And if I'm talking about playing Cooper DeJean at safety.
But I think Reed is the classic case of, the old saying of like, you're more valuable basically where you are than you are, somewhere else. I think he's the perfect example of that. I'm not saying you're wrong or that he's not. He's like this top 3 safety that can't be. I'm not saying that. I think his value to the Eagles and what they're going to have to pay him to keep sustainability at that position and in the backfield, in the secondary on this defense is worth the price of admission for me. Doesn't mean Howie it is for Howie, but I think they're going to pay him, and I think it's worth it. I'm not saying, again, I don't think he's like unreal, but I do think he provides a good purpose and a good reason to keep him on this Eagles defense.
So what'd you make of Trotter Sr.'s comments about Jaylen Carter? I make a comment like that the guy's so dominant. He's so great. And Trotter's like this. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he's learning to still how to play. Isn't that what we're kind of talking about with Jalen Hurts a little bit? Jalen Hurts is learning how to set pass protections. He's learning how to become a better player. And look at his resume. Why can't you make the same distinction for a guy like Jaylen Carter, who's also still learning how to play the position? And all Trotter Sr. was trying to do was say, the ceiling is so high for him on how great he can be. And yet people think you're taking a swipe. It's not a swipe, dude. This guy could be a dominant guy that's in the Chris Jones kind of when he was in his prime, that kind of guy, a better maybe than even Fletcher Cox. It's not a rip. It's more of what this kid can still end up being. Vic Fangio said it today. I agree with that. Why do people have such a hard problem with that? I mean, he's got so much room for improvement, man.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I mean, is anybody really in the chat or somewhere on Twitter or anywhere really gonna sit here and question what Jeremiah Trotter knows about the game of football?
Or Vic?
Or Vic. I mean, come on, that's not a swipe. If anything, I agree with Sileo on this, where it shows you how good Jaylen Carter can be. Like, he is dominating players, and he still hasn't really learned because, it kind of goes into like the dual threat quarterback that we talk about. Why hasn't the dual threat quarterback, or why is the traditional dual threat quarterback a little bit behind your average pocket passer when it comes to reading defenses and throwing the ball? Well, they've been able to run around everybody their entire life, even through college. Same with Jaylen Carter. He's dominated everybody at every level. He never even had to say, hey, man, if you don't have perfect technique and fundamentals, you're not going to win. He's been able to dominate. So he is taking those next steps. I don't think that's a problem at all. I mean, did somebody take that as a negative problem? That's not a negative comment.
They took it. Okay. Yeah, they did. They took it a little bit here. They took it and said that, well, you're capping on the kid. And so we're going like this. We're saying, no. That's not what Trotter Sr.'s saying. What Trotter Sr.'s saying is that this guy has so much more room to grow here. All right, let me throw this at you here. What'd you make of the comments when Vic said this? He was asked a question about Kelee Ringo. Now, I've been saying the same thing. When I hear this, you tell me if you take it the same way. He says, who is Kelee Ringo? He goes, well, I don't know. He needs reps. That's not an indictment on anything, but he's been here a bit. Do you agree? He still doesn't know what Kelee Ringo is, and he still needs to see this guy get in the game.
Sounds like he has a lot of questions, Vic Fangio, on this defense. Sounds like he has as many questions as the great Big Sills on this defense.
That's right.
I mean, he's got questions on secondary. He's got questions there. He's got questions at corner. He's got questions on the edge rushers. He's got questions on Jaylen Carter. I mean, sounds like Vic Fangio thinks like you do in terms of, you need to see it with players before you can crown them or before you can go into the season assuming that they're going to be something that they've never proven to be. Yeah, I mean, I think he's got some questions, but I don't think they're unfounded. I mean, Kelee Ringo, what have you seen? I haven't seen anything.
I don't know.
Outside of great football in the SEC, which he very much did. All right, he was a great cornerback in college, which does not translate fully. By the way, speaking of corners, did you see that video of Travis Hunter today at Jags camp?
I did.
Fucking A. That kid is going to be a stud. That might be one dude. Or before the draft, I remember questioning on the show and just saying, can this guy really play both? I don't really think he can do it. I think it's kind of gimmicky. I don't know, man. I might be eating my words on Travis Hunter. That dude, the play, he's running, tracking the ball perfectly, flips the hips perfectly, knocks the ball out of midair, and then he proceeds to intercept the ball as it's falling to the ground. I'm like, holy shit, this dude can play.
He is a spectacular. You see why they moved up to 2 with Cleveland to get that guy. And I think they're going to play him on both sides of the football. Last one here, before we read the supers here, Howard Eskin's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. He's right in this essence, Vic Fangio. He said that they had just as many questions a year ago as they do now. Vic says it reminds him a lot of a year ago with all these questions. So I'll ask you, Zander, did you feel better about, if you can remember, a year ago going into the 24, coming off the disastrous 23 defensive effort at the end of the year? Or do you feel better coming off the Super Bowl effort with the new faces and the new people that they've brought in with this group on trying to find replacements and putting them in the right positions? Where do you feel better with?
Definitely this year. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, my first 2 off seasons on air for this team have been like the polar opposite of the spectrum on each season, right? Like last year, you collapsed at the end, 1-8, or 2 years ago. It was an off season of what the heck are we going to be? Are we going to be the 22 team, or are we going to continue our collapse? We had no idea. We had questions everywhere, questions on the defense, questions all over the board. And they were all, I think, fair. And then this year you have a team that got younger, got cheaper, and dominated their way to a Super Bowl. And they're bringing back 10 of the 11 offensive starters. And I think the core players on defense, while they did lose players on defense, I acknowledge, I think your best players on defense, for the most part, outside of Josh Sweat, are returning. So you have question marks, but I think your core is intact. And I think you're positioned well for not only success this year, but success into the future. And I trust Vic Fangio a lot more than I trusted him even before last season when we hadn't seen him in Eagle Green. So I feel much better this season, Sileo. It's not even close.
Much of the burden falls on the quarterback of Jalen Hurts, who was 23rd ranked in quality. 27.
Listen, again, my take on this is not that it's crazy. My take on it is looking back at last season and wishing it went different is simply abhorrent and stupid. And to be honest with you, egocentric and I don't even know what, self-righteous, because how can you sit here and say, and I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general,
PFF.
Say, yeah, right. PFF say they should have done it differently last year. Dude, they dominated their way to a Super Bowl. They had 150 points in the playoffs, the most ever by an NFL football team. Again, stupid. Now, moving forward, yes, I do think it's going to require a different version of Jalen Hurts to win at the level we did last year.
That comes off to me like they're saying they won the Super Bowl in spite of his inability to be balanced in the passing offense. That's their take. It's not, again, the end of the day, February 9th. You could just keep throwing February 9th to people. I mean, that's where we go here.
Right.
All right. So let's do the supers here, brother.
Prince, I saw you saying you want me to get the one you sent earlier, too. Kyle says, what reporter that said Davis shouldn't dress for the game? I have no idea.
I have no idea. I didn't hear any of that.
I don't know.
That was a year previous. I think you're talking about Baldinger. saying that he shouldn't have been on the field. That was 23 when he fell apart. Jaylen Carter fell apart too, his rookie year at the end of the season in 23. So both of those guys, what would Ed Kratz saying? They were giving up 145 yards a run per game with those two guys playing D tackle. So it wasn't just Davis that fell on his face.
James M. What's up, James? James M was stirring the pot yesterday. Is he back to stir the pot, or will he go buttercup on us? Why is it for people to understand that if they can't stop it, then why would I stop it? It's not that he can't. We just don't until they make us.
But again, that's Philly 500 saying that every time I bring that up. So you don't want to pass the ball because you don't have to pass the ball.
Well, no, but you do agree last season did dictate and allow us to do what we did for as long as we did.
Because he was turning the ball over in the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, but you agree that when they did pivot, and we don't know their plans. Like when they pivoted, was that a long term or was that we got to get this on the rails right now? So let's make a change for week 6. Right?
No, I don't think
it worked so good they never went off it.
I don't think that was a long-term pivot. I think I
don't either, and I think the results made it become a long-term.
It kept them. Do you remember what I said, Zander? I said at the beginning of the season, do you think they changed the fundamental ways that they're going to approach how they're going to win games? Because Barkley was great. He was very good in the first 4, but they were still contradicting themselves with trying to throw the ball still 35 times a game. And then they went into that bye. They came back and they started throwing the ball 19 times a game. So they cut down about 7 to 10 attempts per game after that. They totally changed. I don't think that was a long-term thing. I think that was something that just evolved as the season went on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. JD3 says, who needs to pass when he can run like J-Mac from the National Football Show? DK say, coming again, tell J-Mac to stop hiding. I'll have to tell him. JD3, I'll make sure I let him know that you were in here saying that. Okay, brother?
Thank you very much, JD3, for the super. Appreciate it.
Steven checks in. What's up, Steven? If the weakest link on the team is a Super Bowl MVP, I think we are in good shape. He's not the weakest link on the team. That's insane.
That wasn't my take. It's, PFF said that, the passing game and the quarterback is the 5th worst guy in the pocket. I don't know.
When I say PFF, what do you think of?
I think of Howie's guys sitting in the analytics department trying to come up with some protractor going like this. I think we should run the ball on 3rd and 4. I don't know. They're geeks.
Yeah, no, there's 2 different types. There's that guy with the protractor and the mathematician, and then there's the dude with the bowl of cereal whose stomach's hanging over his belt. And he wants that. I
don't know. That's not how I look at those.
JD3. I think we got this one, but here we go. We did. We got that one. Yeah. Let me get to Prince's. Prince wanted me to read one about Kelce because he said your dumbass take on it was brutal.
Yeah, well, don't root against the Eagles.
Prince says, I love Kelce, but I feel Wait, let me read his damn take. Prince for $10. Thank you, Prince. I love Kelce, but I feel he undermined Jalen a lot. Jalen could see the blitz, but Kelce would often go against it. If Jalen is able to take another step this year, it was Kelce holding him back. I agree 100%. I think Jason Kelce, for as awesome as he was, it's no coincidence that he left and our offensive line became the best offensive line we've ever had. Again, I don't say that as a knock on Kelce's talent, but I think later in the year or later in his career, the pieces of the puzzle would have went together if they allowed Jalen to grow gradually in that area. They hamstrung him. I don't think he was perfectly correct, as Prince alludes to in this chat, and I think it slowed Jalen Hurts down. And you can make an argument if they put that on Jalen and they let them experience that growing pain, they might have grown faster, stronger, and bigger. So I agree, Prince.
So, Prince, do you then blame the passing attack being 30th on the inability of the team to allow Hurts to grow?
Well, I think it's a multi-pronged discussion. I don't think it's one thing, but I think that aids in it. I mean, look, Sills, listen to Tom Brady. There's a famous clip of Tom Brady. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long, and he explains what a quarterback needs to do to be successful. How Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, grades quarterbacks. Almost all of it boils down to what you do pre-snap at the line of scrimmage as a quarterback. If you don't put that in the quarterback's hands and you don't shoot 100% accuracy, you are going to limit what that quarterback can be and can become. Inevitably.
Wow.
I don't think it's a knock on Kelce. I just think it's a truth that the Eagles fell into because of what they had at quarterback and the way it shifted, specifically in the first year of Jalen's career, post Nick Foles, all that stuff. It's an interesting topic, though.
It is, because now you start going here with it. Do you think Jason Kelce limited Jalen Hurts' ability to lead the team?
I don't want to go that far.
Well, if you're undermining pass protections, going, no, we're not going here. This is where it's coming from. I mean, how did the team get better?
I think
the team got better without him.
I know. And Jason might not want to admit that, and Jason Kelce truthers might not want to admit that, but we had many people on this show. We've had Hall of Fame voters. We've had different beat reporters who have covered this team for 20, 30, 40 years on Birds 365. Many of them have said that was the best offensive line I've ever seen in Philly.
Did you hear
that Sileo? That was 1 year removed from a Hall of Fame center.
Phil Simms says that's the greatest offensive line he's ever seen.
Yes, Phil freaking Simms.
And that better than the Cowboy line.
What a take by Prince.
Yeah, that's a good one. About time. You've been about 6 days of L's, and that's probably your best one in about 6 months.
Prince, it is a good take. It's
about time, guy.
It's a topic with a lot of depth, but we got one more here. Oh, wait, we got a couple more. Ben Dover. Say it out loud. Funny one. Good one. Ben Dover says, Sills better stop calling JD fat. He's going to come through the wall like the Kool-Aid man and tackle Sills straight to the shadow realm.
That's okay. I'll just get
him bend over too.
Let me just say this, bend over. Let me just say this to you there, brother. All I have to do is get on a little bike and start pedaling away. Don't worry, fat guy will fall on his face. He won't be able to chase me.
James M says, clip it. Ramsey will be an Eagle. No, he won't. Why do you want Ramsey? He couldn't get along with Vic last time. What do you think? He's going to come here and get along? Ramsey, shut up and drop in the zone. We're the best defense in football. Shut up and drop in the zone. That's what I would tell him.
Hey, how about Vic getting some love to Huff? Going, hey, I think he goes out there.
Smart thing to do.
Hey, he sounds like Johnny Mac, man. Hey, I think he goes out there and gets 8+ sacks. And, that was like.
John McMullen? You mean John McHuffin?
No, John Van McSumeren.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, though, that he said that about Bryce. I agree with him, though. I think Vic wants to be something different. I do. I think Vic is smart enough to know that the player is not a total trash can. He just doesn't fit what Vic wants to do. And, he told Howie that and basically said, I wonder if there was, as much as Howie had to bite the, fall on the sword on this and kind of, bite the bullet and move on, I'd have made him look better, because Vic was probably like, listen, man, I won't embarrass you, but he's not getting on the field in my defense. And Howie might have been like, all right, we'll just get him out of here then.
Bro, I do have to bring this up to you though. Okay. And let me put this out here to you.
Oh, wait.
What's that?
Go ahead. Okay. Is this on Bryce Huff or do you want to?
This is on Bryce Huff a little bit here.
Okay.
Well, this year and next year, Eagles do have to bite the bullet of $25 million. Okay.
On Huff.
On Huff and dead cap money.
I mean, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. That's $25 million bucks.
Yeah. You can't get it. You can't move on from that. You're going to bite a bullet. That is the issue with getting things wrong. I mean, and they did here. So I put out the John on the Birds 365, and we might have did this, but I said over under 6.5 on Bryce Huff sacks in San Francisco. John took the over. What are you taking?
What? Whether he plays 6 games or not?
No. 6.5 sacks.
Oh. I'll put the over under on how many games he plays.
No. Take the over, the under. Get off the fence.
Fence. All right.
Yes.
I think he has 3 sacks this year.
So under. Thank you. Was that so hard? Fence rider?
I think
it's like Humpty Dumpty. I got to push you off the wall.
It's like, whether he's going to have over 6.5 sacks. He had 1 year in 6 years where it was decent. He's a 1-year wonder. Okay, this guy's like a 1 year
Okay,
hit.
good. So you took the under. About time you put your foot in the sand on
Gravity,
something.
man.
You're losing your way. You're not putting your foot in the sand.
Oh, I've had a grand slam. I am super still so far in the offseason here. I said this, that they were going to put that kid at safety. Try him at corner. It's almost like they be listening to me. How you doing, Big Sills? Cooper DeJean, man. He's a safety. They don't think he can play corner. Actually, Vic said he thought he could. But Vic thinks he's going to be
will be the best corner on this football team.
Better than Q.
Yes. Book it.
How about this?
Cooper DeJean is the second best defensive football player on the Philadelphia Eagles, behind Jaylen Carter.
I think in 2 years he's going to be the best defensive football player on your team.
You think over Jaylen Carter? That's going to be tough for me to say, but
yes, I do. I think that guy has Malcolm Jenkins all over him.
Look at this guy. Says Cooper can't cover.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what you look at when you watch him. I tell you this, I know he could cover Derrick Henry.
Ask Jamar Chase too. Jamar Chase.
Okay. I think that guy has Malcolm Jenkins all over him. When I see him, I see Malcolm Jenkins.
See even better. I can see better.
Yeah,
I can see higher upside.
More.
Dude, he's also down he's also like guys that down in the Jersey Shore slinging honeys at the freaking beach bars up and down the East Coast. Are you kidding me? Not only has this kid came to Philly and taken over and he's blown up on social media and he picked six Patrick Mahomes, but the kid is a fucking stud, Sills.
Hey,
he is a stud.
Talk about white guys can't jump. That guy jumps through the
Cooper DeJean officially dubbed it White Guy Summer is what he dubbed it. Are you kidding me? Cooper
that guy needs to go up to New York and go up to Rucker Park, man, and start playing some ball because I tell you what, if you want to do it, hey, Daryl Morey, if you want a two-sport guy, you might want to sign Cooper DeJean to play
he might be the best basketball player in Philly right now.
Absolutely, man. All right, Big Z. Hey, you should have a lot of stuff coming out of camp, right? Any other news that come out of camp so far?
Not much.
Not
a whole lot, John's a little bit of a Debbie Downer with it. It's tough. We get like one practice in like 48 days, and John's like, doesn't matter. Nothing you see. Nothing matters. Can't tell anything. Don't ask me about this guy. Don't ask me about this. I'm not answering that. I'm like, holy shit. Hey, you want me to act like they weren't at practice today? But that's kind of crazy.
What I would ask John is this. John, what did you see the depth chart yet? I mean, because John gets access to the depth chart.
Yeah.
That's the guys that get reps.
Martin Perez checks in. Coop's also laying the wood on K. Adams. All right, that's a pause, man. Come on, man.
Hey, Martin, I'll tell you what. I hope that's true. Because, hey, Kay's my friend too, man, but she's a honey. She's my friend. So, oh, by the way, I'm going to get –
at first, he didn't read my great take, and now he's copying it. So that's true. All right, so let me get out of here, brother.
Wait, before you go, I'm going to ask Howard Eskin this because Howard had one of those cryptic tweets a week ago about Sirianni's deal. Now, me and Angelo Cataldi didn't know what the hell Howard Eskin meant because he goes, it's really good or something above 10 million. I'm like, 100 million's above 10 million.
Yeah, right. 10, it could be 11, it could be 38. I mean, what are we doing here?
Or conspiracy theory. And I'm like, wait a minute. So what, 13.5? Is that what they're paying the guy? Because if they're paying the guy 13.5, they're not paying him top 5 money.
So until I'm proven otherwise, he's $19 million next
year. He is not making 19 million.
He's one under Andy Reid, and until I'm proven otherwise, I will stick to that. Okay.
I can't.
Two Super Bowls in 4 years. The guy's on a historic pace. He's heading to Canton.
Well, then he should make 21 million.
Well, Andy Reid's got more years under the belt, I guess, has earned him that extra one.
Well, that's a pretty big belt. All right, man.
All right, brother,
I appreciate you. All right. Yeah, man. So if you guys remember, now me and